Alright, motherfuckers, here we are. Getting ready for the fucking gun show with Glenn Lawrence. Let's go!
Kept my fists up in the battle, but I never won the war. Just another pawn in a game I don't play for anymore. I'm done pointing fingers, done screaming at the sky. No more chains around me, no more wasted time. It's time to rise above, time to claim my place. No more victim songs, no more bitter days. I don't care if they call me alpha or beta. I don't stress about their love or their favor. I build my world, I bend the steel with a fire inside that they can feel. No more scrolling through the noise, feeding off the lies. No more crying over what I should have been in their eyes. I don't chase validation, don't beg for their respect. I walk with presence and they feel it in my steps. I ain't fighting in a war that was rigged from the start. Now I forge my own path, carve my name into the dark. It's time to rise above, time to claim my place. No more victim songs, no more bitter days. I don't care if they call me alpha or beta. I don't stress about their love or their favor. I build my world, I bend the steel with a fire inside that they can feel. No more wasting time, no more playing small. I walk this road alone, but I will never fall.
It's your boy Glenn Lawrence, and I got with me Mr. RP Thor.
Howdy.
So today's topic is the red pill the key to understanding women, or is it a stepping stone to real masculinity? In this episode, we're going to break down the difference between, the red pill's teachings and Thor's book, Dominant Masculine Presence. And, we're going to try to, if you're tired of surface level dating advice and you want to cultivate true lasting strength as a man, this is the episode for you. So with that being said, Thor, when we look at this, we got to first let those that don't know the red pill kind of understand what it is. The origins of the red pill, basically. The term red pill, blue pill, it came from the Matrix, right? But it's applied to intersexual dynamics, right? The manosphere influences on dating and relationship advice. You got authors like Ryan Stone. You had Roosh, you had Rollo, you had who's the other R?
Rousey.
And their core teachings were basically on how women's behavior is versus how men are led to believe that their behavior is. And there's a difference. They focus on female hypergamy. Women's prioritizes high status men. SMV is a big topic, right? Men improve over time. Women peak early and they decline when they get older. Frame and power dynamics is something that they really hone in on. They say men must always hold the frame in the relationship. Their views on marriage says that it's a risk. It's against men. System is down. They focus on self-improvement, but not love. Women love opportunistically is a key phrase.
Right.
The pros with the red pill, though, it does help men recognize female nature. It does encourage them to self-improve and personal growth. And it gives men a sense of agency over their own lives.
I would say enlightened self-interest is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of hypergamy.
Yeah.
Enlightened self-interest. That allows you to manipulate, let's call it like it is, or to create a reality bubble around you that's good for everybody that meets you and actually will come back to you tenfold. It's amazing. It is the vibe.
The vibe. Now, some of the criticism of the red pill, it definitely breeds resentment towards women. We see guys go from being red pill to black pill doomer, right? Guys going MGTOW, going their own way.
Mhm.
If focus is on hypergamy rather than personal relationships,
Mhm.
and it lacks a spiritual or moral depth. So when it comes to masculine presence over theory, because red pill will be the theory, but having a dominant masculine presence is more of an action. It's a practice. It's a something you cultivate rather than theorize.
It's definitely a skill set that you need to acquire to move to the next level. That's for sure. Red pill, exchanging of notes, field testing it, very important, especially the understanding of Briffault's law and the fact that even though we say that the men are the gateway to the relationship
Mm-hmm.
and the woman is gateway to the sex, that's
Yeah.
fine. It is simplistic, but actually Briffault's law is what rules. And that's that if the woman sees no benefit to herself in the relationship, no relationship will occur. And
Yeah.
that spans across all species. That's important to know. And that was something that the red pill really discovered as I was lurking in the forums years ago, making friends.
You know what I see the key differences I see from the red pill and from a dominant masculine presence is this. Um, Less focus on resentment and more focus on responsibility. When it comes to being a dominant masculine presence, uh, instead of blaming women, you improve yourself holistically.
Hmm.
That's when you bring up the 7 P's here in a minute. Um, that's one of the things that I see the difference of. Dominance comes from presence, and it's not just status. It's not about the money that you
Right.
have or the car that you drive, but a man's confidence comes from values, and dictated by dictates his influence. Your values and your presence play a role in your influence,
Sure.
and it plays a role in your presence.
So, what are these 7 P's? These 7 P's are a skill set that every man must acquire to move to the next level. And the next level is that enlightened self interest. How is it that there's alphas and there's betas, and yet they can know all the red pill stuff in the world, and yet the betas, the sigmas, some of them don't succeed. They don't have good social skills in public. They don't have the abilities that other men do, and yet there are some betas that have an extreme dominant masculine presence, and there are some alphas.
Mm-hmm.
Just use a few examples. Elon Musk, you can use Bezos. There are others and many others. There's the go at your own way guys, which are the sigmas. And so what do they express in a skill set that causes them to have this dominant masculine presence, which is, by the way, the vibe or the frequency? Well, here's what they are. It's the answer to the 6 6s that women usually choose. It's physicality, as in your body being fit. It's psychology, as in your mind and your mindset being fit and confident and secure. And then it is presence and what you project into the world. On the dragon ship, we have a rising tide lifts all ships.
Mm-hmm.
And people are supposed to be better off by having met us or heard us than never having done so before. We were called to that. And then, of course, problem solving, which is a man's primary agency. And then, of course, prosperity is a skill set. Power, as in influence, that is a skill set. And then passion, as in purpose. That's primary skill set right there. And with that, you're going to get perspicacity, the ability to see around you what others do not. And actually, in some ways, you'll be able to sense what is coming next. It's quite amazing. You'll see common behaviors. It's pretty nice. And how do I get these things? Well, you have to practice the basic traits and behaviors um, of a dominant masculine presence, which I think you've covered before, but it's really handy sometimes to look at those. That's in the quick start guide or chapter 4 of my book, which should be pretty useful. Definitely those traits and behaviors that you work on with those skills that we outlined in the book is honor, strength, self discipline, mastery, ownership, conquest, emotional regulation, foresight, which is perspicacity, leadership of the inspirational type, respect, ambition, pride, yep, competitiveness, aggression, capability for violence, being adventuresome, taking risks, stoicism, mystery. You have to have that air of mystery. Discernment, I said that once before. Reflection, passion, as in purpose, and compassion, accountability, and you have to be able to self-validate, not externally validate. This is a dominant masculine presence. And of course, a value of promptness, loyalty, and keeping your word, as well as that what that will get you is awareness. Those are the traits and behaviors of a dominant masculine presence. And those skills will allow you to practice that in my book, A Dominant Masculine Presence. And of course, that led me to get inspired by the Dragons membership and ask everybody I knew in this space that was a friend over the years to write a book in an encyclopedia series that will become a box set of the essential skills of a masculine presence.
And for those that don't know, there's Thor's book. You could get it now on Amazon. Okay. It's called A Dominant Masculine Presence. Tell us about your book a little bit.
Oh, it was an inspiration a little bit because I did a lot of keynote speaking at conventions, and I met most everybody in this space and became friends with them. The one thing I didn't really pick up on was we had a lot of technical information that was very, very useful and attractive to men and worked. It was field tested, it worked, but there was something missing. We always went back to alpha beta stuff. And as I started to look into this, that's when I picked up on there was a certain skill set that they had. And that's how I came up with the 7 Ps, and that every man would need. And I started looking for it and I researched it. And I kind of made a promise when I was at the original CME in Florida that I would write the book. I had enough content that I could. And I would share this content with any of the creators that wanted it. Didn't need to mention my name, just use the vernacular because it's that important. Once I realized what this was the actual vibe or the frequency that people clicked on. And I put that all, I compiled it in a book. It took darn near 2 years. And then we published the book, and it did well. It did really well in the demographic of 29-year-old women to late 50s women. And did really well there. And then it started to pick up with men. It was written for men, but if you look at my comments on the book, you'll see. And I had a lot of orders for the book to be signed for sons and boyfriends, which is interesting.
Now, what about this little flimsy thing? This the essential skill of the dominant masculine presence.
Yeah, it's about identity. Yep.
About yours truly. Presence. You tasked me with presence. And I said that presence is the most important skill out of the 7 Ps.
Well, I would consider it very important because it sets your tone socially, but problem-solving skill gets you there. That's your agency.
But you can't have presence without already mastering problem solving.
That's true.
So it's like you have to have all these other ones good. You could have all of them, but if you don't encompass them into your presence, it's useless. Not useless, but it's just...
Yeah, presence, how you carry yourself. It would also be used as he has presence, he's confident. I mean, use Trump as an example right now.
Exactly. Trump is a great example for presence. Now, how does DMP, in your eyes, differ from red pill?
I would consider it the next evolution because red pill is foundational. It doesn't go away. It's very attractive. It has that patriarchal feel, which attracts Christians. But, it's one of those things that you can pick apart. You can get views by picking things apart. And I think it's very foundational. And there's a lot of good information there. And there always will be because it's field tested. And since it is based in evolutionary psychology, you can look and see that it works. And those are good skills to know, or good good concepts to know. Now, what do I do with it? How do I make it better? How do I get that next level? There's a couple ways. One, you're going to have to acquire a dominant masculine presence, and then you're going to have to start mentorship. And that's the next way, which is gathering your tribe, which is bringing others along with you. You don't share the red pill with other people. That's not a good thing. Most people arrive at the red pill because of trauma and they're looking for answers.
Yeah.
You're not going to arrive at a dominant masculine presence in that same regard. You'll be looking to move beyond that trauma into something much better. And what is that? Enlightened self-interest, so that you can change your reality around you to help yourself and help those around you. And it works.
Yeah, because I'll look at like I have 10 reasons why, what's the difference, how they differ, right? And like philosophy and core beliefs. I think DMP is rooted in self-mastery, leadership, and presence. A man with the dominant masculine presence leads with confidence, decisiveness, and a strong frame, regardless of external validation. He doesn't rely on external validation.
That's right.
But Red Pill focuses on intergender dynamics from a detached, almost adversarial lens, often emphasizing on hypergamy, female nature, and the game of attraction, right? Another way that Red Pill or DMP differentiates from Red Pill is that it focuses on self versus focusing on women. DMP emphasizes internal strength, discipline, mastery of one's emotions and surrounding, and it's about becoming rather than reacting. Red Pill focuses heavily on understanding female behavior, right, which is good, but often centering discussion on how to work or how women think and act, sometimes to the detriment of the person. You know, like if this is how women behave, and so now you're being reactive to this rather than doing what you do. You know, like like DMP is all about doing what you do. You're master. Everything else bends to your will. Everything around you bends to your will, right? Red Pill is more like reactionary. Oh, women like this, so I'm going to do this, right?
Yeah, so to speak.
Another way is leadership versus control. DMP, dominant masculine presence, is about lead by example. He commands respect through his actions, his vision, and unwavering frame.
Right. The tenet of a DMP is you have everything you need to become by just taking actions. Taking actions. It's always take actions.
And I like the fact that, like, in DMP, if a woman is not about your vision, you just move on.
It's up to her.
You're not trying to control her. You don't try to control her through manipulation. You don't try to, gaslight her or anything. Red Pill often, talks about
it's acceptance. You need to accept how female nature is. And once you get there, that's your first step into getting a DMP and achieving enlightened self-interest, really.
Yeah. Like in DMP, like values like long-term personal growth, legacy, and stability in relationships. A dominant masculine presence, a dominant man builds an empire and relationships that last. Red Pill talks about, it doesn't really promote long-term anything. They highlight, spinning plates. You can get an LTR out of it.
Yeah.
They do talk about that, but it's like
most men want that.
Yeah. But they seem like they encourage more like the spinning plates, short-term success, like something you could tangibly grab, like short-term relationships. Having that, rather, it seems like DMP is more about cultivating this long-lasting relationship or long-lasting community.
Well, hang on. If you go into the candy store, you got to sample some candy.
Well, yeah.
You got to know what is in the candy store, and they often offer free samples. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want, you want to buy the candy store, okay, you're going to have to do certain things.
Would you say that a dominant masculine presence respects women as a complementary, acknowledging the differences while maintaining a strong masculine polarity?
Sure, why not?
Because I do. I think, like, as a DMP, we understand that women are women and women are going to be women, and that has nothing to do with us.
Right.
It's we understand that women could be deceptive. We also understand they could be honest. We understand that women could be this and that. We understand that women are just women. There's no good women. They're just women.
They're human beings, man.
Yeah. When it comes to emotional mastery, that's something that the DMP really is good about. Like, I think AJ wrote his book about it.
Sure. One of them is emotional regulation. I mean, if you were to go to becomedurable.com, I have a lecture on it, which is, a dominant masculine presence. And the second piece of it, of the video lecture series, is emotional durability, which is essentially regulation. What can I do? And there are several things to do. You have to come up with some solutions to fear, sadness, and loneliness. Those are the big three that kill guys and put them in depression and kind of move them into a tough space. They don't accept that women are the way they are, and they start looking in that victim mindset. So that's I actually do a whole segment and video on that on my website.
What's interesting is that DMP encourages guys to master their emotions, controlling them rather than being controlled by them, right? And Red Pill often equates emotional expression with weakness. Like, oh, you're just being emotional, like feels before reals. And I think DMP it embodies, it embraces your feelings, your emotions, but it regulates them. You are controlling them rather than being controlled and reactive by them.
Sure, that is true. What we really push against in the book is there's a section called the warning, which is some of the stuff out there that's really irritating, like vulnerability. And some of the love language stuff is just incorrect. It's not feasible. It's not a part of a DMP, really.
Yeah.
But using emotions and actually sharing some emotions at the right time is actually quite good in relationships.
Do you think there's a difference between a dominant masculine man building his life around his purpose and mission, right? Because that just seems like when that happens, when you're building your life around your purpose and mission, women naturally just follow.
Yep, that would be passion and under passion skill, and that is correct. And sometimes that purpose is not one you choose. You're called to it.
Yeah. And like your mission is always going to be bigger than women.
Yep.
Now, the Red Pill tells you about, discussing, improving your game, your status, your money, right? And it kind of sticks to those things as like makes those as your purpose. Your purpose is supposed to be rich. Your purpose is supposed to be attractive. Your purpose is supposed to be, and it seems like those are just more traits rather than purpose.
Traits and behaviors can be observed. The way I move, the way I talk, when I pause. This is where you're really good. You're an actor. You understand these things.
Yeah.
How I manipulate my face in public with a woman. These things can be very attractive or very off-putting. You ever see The Creep?
Oh, yeah. We know The Creep.
So, I'm not sure. What was your question again?
Like, do you see like a distinction, a difference between like understanding like your purpose and your mission versus like focusing on game and status? It seems like DMP is more focused on your purpose and mission and women being a byproduct of that. And, game and status is something we hear a lot about from the PUAs or, other Red Pill content creators, like telling them to focus on,
I tell guys to get hobbies, get out there, be interesting, be social. The purpose will find you. Now, you can pick one and go at it, and sometimes that works.
Yeah.
But more often than not, it's going to change. And you're going to find fulfillment rather than happiness when that purpose selects you.
Now, can we talk about like creation versus reactions?
I'm not sure what you mean by creation versus reactions.
So you write in your book in DMP, dominant masculine man creates. His presence shapes the world around him.
Oh, okay.
He takes like full responsibility of his life, right?
Right.
Now, Red Pill content creators, not all of them, but some of them, they often are very reactive, focusing on responding to how women behave rather than proactively building a strong foundation of their life. Like, oh yeah, women behave like this. So if you want women, you need to do these things that attract them. Seems like or DMP is more about creating your presence that draws people in.
It certainly is about developing the skills
Mm-hmm.
that create that for you, which is the vibe. And it will allow you to explore a lot of pieces about you so that you have that enlightened self-interest. Now, when it comes to red pill, a lot of those things that they bring up are they're very functional.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of clinical in a way.
Yeah.
And guys get hung up on that, and they get way hung up on it, and they just keep listening and listening. It's very entertaining to them. And then, of course, if you can get some controversy or you can get some nasty old hoes on your show, you can get views and you can make money and you get a lot of attention. And that seems to have seduced quite a few of the content creators.
Well, yeah, because like red meat sells.
Sure. And I'm glad of that.
Yeah.
Myron Gaines and I started together creating courses and lectures for MLD Jonathan Hogwood together.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm glad to be his friend. Sure. But he touched on something, I think almost by accident, that was really useful in the space and created a lot of success for a lot of people and stirred a lot of feathers too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because he hit muscles, money, game, and frame. That's MLD's.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I think is interesting is that what you did with Dominant Masculine Presence is this. You said, hey, the red pill is not the destination, basically. You said red pill is a gas station and the DMP is the final destination.
I would think that is correct.
Right?
Yep. Good way to put it.
So a lot of guys tend to find themselves entering into the red pill and camping out there. They end up making it their home rather than going in the gas station, filling up and getting the tools and skill sets that they need, and then going on their journey to becoming a dominant masculine man.
Well, you can appreciate everything in the red pill and you can sit back and watch it and be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to a DMP, you have to take action. Those are actions you have taken. Learning those skills and practicing the body language takes you have to take that action. You have to look at yourself in the mirror, and that can be weird for some guys, and they don't like the way they look. They don't like the way they sound. Remember, voice control, depth, all of that's part of learning this so that when you project that presence, you actually have that vibe out the get-go, and you're going to get a lot of rejection. That's painful. Guys don't want to take those actions. And when you're hurting emotionally, taking action seems like one of the hardest things ever.
It is. And then, you're taking action even if it's not your fault. It's always like there's a difference between fault and responsibility. With a DMP, you're always responsible to act. You're always responsible to take an action.
Yep.
To perform, to conquer. It doesn't matter who's to blame. You're always responsible to act.
Correct.
And when I'm looking at these like quick reference guides, and we'll wrap up here in a few minutes.
Thank you.
When it comes to like some of the stuff, keeping your word. If you're saying you're going to do something, do it. Right?
Yep.
Like, why did you make that a characteristic of actual masculinity? How does that, like, what did something like that? People are like, oh, sometimes I mean to keep my word, but I don't keep my word, like.
Because it's conventionally masculine. Now, there's at least two types of masculinity I describe in the book, Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional, but the problem with traditional is every tradition has a different form of masculinity, be it Christian, be it Hindu, be it something else. When I use the term masculinity, I like to use conventional masculinity. Why? Because in every country, in every part of this earth, it would be recognized as masculine in its trait or behavior. It wouldn't be considered traditional. It might, but it would be recognized everywhere as masculine. One of those is my bond is my word.
Yeah.
I'm a man. Other men made me a man. I have a dominant masculine presence. It's proclaimed by others that I do. My word is my bond, just like the timeliness. I do what I say, and I say what I do. So there you go.
And you highlight like compassion. Some people would say compassion is weakness and not a very masculine trait. Why would you put compassion as a characteristic?
You ever see a man lift his child?
Of course, I would do my child.
You see a man that gets out and rescues a dog that got hit by a car? Of course.
Yeah.
There's compassion, and compassion is an important characteristic that you can express. Passion is purpose. Compassion is bringing them in with the rising tide.
And what makes a reflection a dominant trait?
Reflection is when you screwed up. You don't necessarily apologize. I talk about that, but you reflect later, and if you realize this was not the best course of action, that's what I'm talking about. You have to have some, and then you have to have a review of the actions that you take, the encounters that you have. What was good? What was bad? What could I improve on? What can I do that would make it worse? And don't do those things.
Yeah. Well, Thor, I think we're about to wrap it up, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me.
Of course. Thank you guys for tuning in. Ms. Producer,